Welcome to Sober on Purpose, the show where emotional sobriety and the messy reality of loving someone with addiction meet. We're here to help you discover peace, purpose, and healing through Jesus, no matter how chaotic life feels.
Welcome to the Sober on Purpose podcast. This is a podcast for folks who are supporting those loved ones who are struggling with addiction. And I am here with Meridee. She's up in British Columbia, and she's going to tell you more about a process that I've never heard of before. So we're just going to have a conversation about laser quit and what that looks like for helping those that you care about who struggle with addiction. So welcome, Meridee.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it, Tanya. My name is Meridee, and I am the founder of a company called Laser Quit. And what we do is we help people free themselves from addiction using cold laser therapy. And the idea behind what we do now, if you go and Google us, you're going to find there's not been a lot of science done. It's usually the practitioners themselves that have the testimonials. And now I am in the process of also working on the science, but science costs a lot of money. And if I take away from the pharmaceutical companies, then nobody wants to fund it. So I am in the process of working on that. However, if you do Google, you're not going to find a lot of information. The science behind what we do is acupuncture. However, a lot of people, one, don't like needles. They don't like the discomfort. And two, about 50 years ago, they came out with this incredible idea of let's try cold laser therapy on acupuncture spots. And they actually found that it was able to do a lot more, a lot faster. So in a shorter period of time, they were able to accomplish more than they could with needles.
Oh.
So basically, cold laser therapy is low-level radiation. And when I say that, most people are like, nope, I'm out. I say again, low-level radiation. So low-level radiation does not harm you. It stimulates cells. That is all that it does. And then we combine that with LED light. So you're hearing about red light therapy right now. Everyone's talking about it. It's all the rage. Everyone's doing it. It's so good for you. It's true. It really is. However, none of these things are new that have just come out. They're just newly trending. Kind of like, somebody who gets a song out and it doesn't go viral until 17 years later or something like that.
Right.
So basically, we use this cold laser therapy, which is the red light therapy combined with the low-level radiation, and we use it on acupuncture points. And the basis of what we're doing is because of how addiction works. So I'm going to get into that first.
Mm-hmm.
Addiction isn't even, if we're honest, addiction isn't the problem. Addiction is the solution.
It is the solution because drugs work, right? If I'm in pain, drugs and alcohol work. So it is a solution or a symptom of what's going on. So dig deeper for us and tell us what your experience brings.
So basically, when you use, especially over, say, a long period of time. So if you have used drugs or alcohol for a year or more, the physiological and chemical makeup of your brain changes. And then they want people to just go get sober. And the problem is now their chemical makeup of their brain has changed. The chemical releases in their brain has changed. The receptors in their body and their brain have changed. And now they're supposed to just stop using and just get sober. And it doesn't work like that because now it's going to take 14 to 18 months for their brain to recover from what they've been through. And now they need that 14 to 18 months to suffer, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Now, all the while you're suffering through your brain, craving, desiring, wanting, trying to rehabilitate itself very, very slowly, you're also being told you need to deal with the trauma that started this in the first place.
At the same time, without your coping mechanism, right? And so for people who drugs and alcohol have never been an issue, I'm like, quit sugar for 16 months.
Stop coffee.
Talk to me about it. Oh, stop caffeine.
Stop coffee.
Whatever is your crutch. Quit that.
And now the thing is too, a lot of people will be like, well, I'm not addicted to coffee. And I'm like, okay, so if I tell you to stop it, how does that feel? The minute you feel that ooh sensation, it's not even that you're addicted. It's that you're addicted.
Well, it's what you were talking about. Those brain receptors have said, hey, I don't feel good. I want a cookie. Or, hey, I've done something really wonderful.
I
Let's go
want a
have a piece of
reward.
cake. Yeah, I
Yes.
want a reward
Yes.
type thing. And so the
Yes.
receptors have been set that way. And it's not any different with the solution when we find it in drugs or alcohol. Our receptors are
Exactly.
there.
Exactly.
So you're right. It's really interesting that you put those two together, that go deal with your trauma, and we're going to take away everything that has been supporting you so far as you've been trying on your own to deal with your trauma.
Yes. And I mean, when we're on drugs or alcohol, we no longer feel that trauma. So we don't feel like we need to deal with it. So a lot of my clients, they say they start to get sober, and yeah, the first, couple weeks are the hardest. And then they're like, they have some hope because they've made it a couple of weeks. But that hope is not sustainable when your brain does not sustain the proper chemicals. So basically, we are looking at seeing all these people that are suffering before they start using. Then they start using. Now you're going to make them suffer and suffer twice as hard because their chemicals are so much lower than your normal chemicals would be. So, for example, if you were to look at a graph, there would be a line, say basically through the middle of the graph. And that would be what yours and my brain chemicals do. I don't really have any vices. I can go without coffee. I'm going to say that I have maybe a little bit of a pop addiction. And my boyfriend and I have decided, we don't do New Year's resolutions, but we've decided let's try going without pop for the month of January.
There you go.
Just let's see what happens. And he was a lot more like, what? Than I was. Because of course it was my suggestion. But so what happens is these endorphins are regulated. So they're kind of just like little humps on that center line. That's your endorphins throughout the day. Someone who uses, so the first time they use, their endorphins spike so high and they get that sensation. And you probably have heard this before, where they chase the high for the rest of their lives. Reason for that is because the first time you use any toxic substance is when you're going to get the highest high you've ever had, because your endorphins spike the highest. What happens the next day, where I often hear people say, the next day is the day I want to kill myself. The next day is the worst day I've ever had in my life. And what that is the night before, you released such a high level of endorphins that you're overproduced endorphins. And now the next day, your brain needs a day to recover from that. So it crashes way below a normal rate. When it crashes way below a normal weight, that's where they call addiction starts. They say that starts because it's so low and you feel so terrible about yourself that you now need to use just to feel normal. But then you get high again. And then, they have that sensation of, oh, I just feel so good. And then the next day they're like, okay, I'll stop. But then they get that sadness again. And so the endorphins are spiking and then crashing and spiking and crashing. The more they use, eventually they're crashing so much harder than they spike that when they do use, they're almost back to what we would consider a normal level. So that's why the amount they use needs to go up, because even the amount they use to get them high, their high is a small high, or they're almost at what would be considered a normal level, even though they're still messed up.
And still struggling with the pain that they walked in substance use disorder with. They're trying to solve the problem, and now the problem can't be solved at the same level. They have to keep increasing.
And so the use just continues to
feel
grow.
normal. And then it becomes this vicious cycle. Correct me if I'm wrong. Becomes this vicious cycle of, okay, I'm doing this just to be normal. I'm not even really feeling good anymore.
Now imagine if they're using and their endorphin levels are as close to normal as it can be. They'll always be, especially after a certain period of time of use. Now, I'm not entirely sure of that period because everyone's brain is different. But say a month afterwards, a month after using for 30 days straight, you go and decide you're going to stop. Now, because I already feel so terrible and my endorphins are below a normal level at all times, even when I'm using, and I'm suffering, which bring your endorphin levels down even more. Now, you want me to get off of the drug that brings my endorphin levels to an almost normal level. And you want me, which is going to make me sad, depressed, anxious, make me want to feel suicidal, all of these things. And then on top of that, you want me to deal with the feelings that I feel in the first place that I was trying to avoid. So this is the ugly
when you put could almost do a mathematical equation. When you put it in a mathematical equation like that, you would look at anybody and go, no, thank you.
No, that's a lose-lose situation. This is why recovery is so difficult. Because there is not a solution for them to, and this is why doctors are prescribing drugs. Because if I give you a drug, at least I can kind of maintain your normality. Now, in British Columbia, I want to say it was 2 years ago, they actually legalized carrying a certain amount of heroin, cocaine on a person.
Mm-hmm.
And then because I've been in the addiction field for 13 years. I look into this because I work with a lot of rehab centers. And so I look into this and I'm talking to one of the doctors that offers medications. And I said, why do we just keep putting these people on medications? Why don't we just treat them with laser quit? And he said, because one, the pharmaceutical companies fund the government. How are we supposed to keep funding the government if you're taking away half their money? And I was like, okay, fair. But also, if they can get back to work, they're going to fund the government with their tax dollars. So like it is a win-win situation here. Okay. But
Right.
next, we're putting these drugs into their system to do what we would consider regulate their system. And even then, they're still unhealthy. They're still not normal. They want off of every substance. So they basically what we call dry drunking. So they are replacing one substance with another, and they're not actually getting sober.
So you're addiction switching.
Yes.
And
Yes.
a somewhat acceptable way, because you can say, well, my doctor gave
said
it to me.
so. Yeah.
Yes. And it's
So-
not unlike if you go to the big programs, if you're in AA or Celebrate Recovery or something like that, and okay, you've stopped the substance, but you're still not at home for your family because you're at the program every night of the week. And I'm
Yes.
not saying this isn't a positive step in the right direction. What I'm saying is, what would you rather
Balance.
have? Freedom from having to be trapped by whatever it is, or just an addiction switch?
Yes. And I do find that. And that's one of, and when I say this, I am 100% a supporter of AA, NA, of these programs because they do work when they're worked properly. But also, a lot of the people that come to see me will tell me that one of the issues that they have is that they're constantly reminded of the person they used to be and they're not that person anymore.
Yes.
And that's an
Yes.
issue for them.
Yes.
So they don't want to keep going back to it. So there's all these different pieces. And of course, one doesn't fit one.
No,
Right?
one size does not fit all. And we say that all the
Mhm.
time on this program. One size does not fit all because you're unique. You have your own thumbprint. And I don't want to get stuck in terminal uniqueness. And there's a way that works for you. Just like
Yes.
we all can't be treated. We learn this between men's and women's medicine. When they're only testing things on men, that doesn't always work for women.
No.
We're structured.
Our hormones and endorphins in our brain work differently, which is why we're a more emotional creature. There's so many pieces of it.
Yes.
So when we look at that part of it with doctors putting people on medication, one of the things that really upset me when I was speaking to this doctor is he said to me, one of the other reasons is because they've changed the definition of sobriety. And I said,
Oh dear.
you can't change the definition of sobriety. Sobriety means not using. And he said, no. And this doctor was on my side. And he said, sobriety now means using occasionally. And I said, that is not sobriety. And he said, that's why the government has done what they've done. Because now, if they put someone on, say, Suboxone or methadone, these people, when they relapse, so instead of finding a solution for them that's permanent, we're going to find you a temporary one so that when you relapse, your body won't go into shock and you won't die from reusing again. Because an alcoholic who gets clean, there's a portion of them, a percentage of them, that when they use again, their body will go into immediate shock and they will die.
Yeah. Yes.
That
And
alone
that's
would
for
scare me
anything.
into staying sober.
Yeah, and that's meth, that's cocaine, that's anything that you
It
can
is.
go back into shock as far as that. And you know, we've got the Narcan, we've got the other things on there, and we're using some pretty technical terms, so you may want to break it down just a little bit on what's happening in the body if they choose to use again after being off the substance for a while. What is happening for them?
Well, and their body is just like when you're using the substance the first time. What happens is your body, when you first have, say, one drink, you have a dopamine rush. You know, that's your major reward endorphin.
Right.
So you have this dopamine rush and you feel so good and you're like, woo, and your face goes numb and your hands go numb, maybe your legs go numb, and you're like, oh, now I know I'm feeling the buzz. You have a little bit more and your body immediately goes, too much of a good thing is a bad thing. And this is a really toxic substance. And if, say, for example, you ate Now, this is a really great example. When we're drinking, we go out for dinner, we're having some drinks, we eat. Your body goes straight into focusing on getting rid of the most toxic substance, which is the ethanol that you have just put into your body. So your digestion shut down. I'm going to put this food over to the side. I don't need it, which is why 6 or 8 hours later, when people are vomiting, they're still vomiting the food that they ate 6 or 8 hours previous. You should be fully digested by then. But your body goes, none of this is important right now because the most important thing for me to focus on is getting these toxic substances out of me. And so it focuses on that. And when your liver shuts off every other digestive enzyme so that it can focus entirely on getting this toxic substance out of you, and then you get out of that, and then you go back into it, your body just goes, I don't even know what to do. I don't know how to shed this anymore. And it shuts down.
Right.
That's why you die. Because it shuts down. It thinks I can't do this anymore. It doesn't know what to do. It literally goes, oh my goodness, what is happening right now? And goes, I don't know how to deal with this. Basically, all the cells in your body throw their hands up and go, well, okay. They don't know how to work anymore.
We're giving it up.
They are.
As you are moving into this cold laser, talk about what the cold laser is, and then we're being radiated on while we're sitting
All
in front
the
of this
time.
computer.
We have
right?
cellular devices. These
Yes.
are constantly on us.
Yes.
So think about that. The amount of radiation you get from your cell phone in a day is significantly higher than the radiation that I would put on you for this very short period of time. So typically, your first treatment or so is going to be 20 to 30 minutes. It really depends. The way I teach my people is we watch your body because we're looking for certain things. We're looking for your body to react in certain ways. Once I start seeing that, now I know that what's happening is the right thing to do. So it really depends on the person's body in order for me to see the outcome I'm looking for. So 20 to 30 minutes for your first treatment is standard. And in that time, I'm working with the body's energies. So we know, if nothing else, your body knows better than anyone or anything else.
Amen.
Your body knows how to fix itself. God made you in a way that you are perfect. It's only when we go in and do dumb things to ourselves that our body starts reacting to those things.
Right. Right.
So we have this perfect body. Imagine the fact that you don't need to think to breathe. You don't need to make sure your heart keeps beating. Like, this thing is magical. It is incredible.
Right.
We can use its own energies to help it fix itself. And so with cold laser therapy, we are stimulating those energies and we are giving it very specific instructions on what we want it to go fix. So we're trying to tell your body, go back to homeostasis, go back to not using these things. And the only way that you can do that successfully and long term is if you can get your brain chemicals to regulate, which is one of the reasons that they offer these chemicals in these pill form that you have to take every single day. And a lot of these users, their family needs to drive them to go pick them up because otherwise they'll OD on these, or they'll use too many because they'll abuse them and all of the things. Laser Quit, you come in and we're going to release the same endorphins, more than the same endorphins. You're not going to feel the high. So you can tell a lot of times people who are on Suboxone or methadone, you think they're still messed up on whatever drug they were on because, of these drugs. So with us, we're not releasing. What happens when you take any toxic substance is different levels of different endorphins in your brain are released at a certain time. So like I said, dopamine is typically one of the highest ones that's released in everything that we do, every toxic substance. But there's the bliss molecule and there's serotonin, and then there's other endorphins in your brain that come out at different levels. So imagine, like a lightning bolt that just keeps going and it's up and down, up and down, up and down. That's essentially the different endorphin levels. They're not coming out at the same level. They're all over the place, which is why you'll feel drunk if you do one thing. You'll feel stoned if you do another. You'll feel completely different on meth than you do on cocaine. They release different levels of different endorphins. What Laser Quit does is we go in and release all of the endorphins at the same level so that you do not feel high. The most you're going to feel is euphoric. You're going to feel wonderful. Now, that being said, your first treatment, you're probably not going to feel euphoric. You're probably going to feel, for the first time in a really long time, normal.
So like everything is in the right place. It's okay. I'm neither really high or really low. I'm just
somewhere in the center, and I don't know what this feels like. And this is very uncomfortable for me because I have not sat here in a very long time.
Oh, really good point. Talk about why
Okay.
this is so uncomfortable to feel this normal.
Well, I feel like this for all of us, it's the same as, like for me, when I experience something. Now I have learned that I don't say when I feel something bad, when I experience something, because I believe that we were put on this earth to experience. That's good and bad. However,
Mhm.
I am not moving out of a pleasure spot if I'm comfortable. I'm in a
Right.
comfort zone. This zone feels real nice and soft and warm and cushy. But if I want to grow or become anything better than I am, I need to get out of that comfort zone.
Yes.
And that comfort zone is so warm. It's like me going outside without a jacket on. I don't want to be there.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that when I teach myself, like this is for me, this was ice baths. I now can calm myself in that situation. I can keep myself chill. I can breathe through it. I can now see that, when it's 3 degrees outside, I'm not dying. I'm okay. And I can calm my entire nervous system down. So, yeah, I'm uncomfortable. And yeah, this sucks. But also, I didn't die.
And you get a lot of reward and benefit from it.
Oh, goodness. Afterwards, you want to talk about you guys, you want to talk about a high? Go climb in an ice bath. Breathe your way through that ice bath. You will be on a high you've never experienced before. That releases so many bliss molecules. Like, it's amazing. So basically, we're going to get you to a place where you feel like where someone feels like you or I feel, or say
Mhm.
mom or dad, the person listening, we're going to get them to a place where they're almost where you're at, but it's so out of their comfort zone. They're going to feel outright uncomfortable. So they're going to
Mm.
feel that discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
only problem that I often see, and I call this a problem, and now when I say it, everyone's like, how is that a problem? But the problem that I see is there are often minimal detox side effects. So, how is
And they
that a
want
problem?
there to be more detox side effects.
Only because it shows them not to go back. It's the same as if I give you a free treatment and you have no skin in the game, why would you commit to it? Like I worked with a ministry funded rehab center. There
Right.
was 15 people. We decided to only treat 7 of them. They were ministry funded, which means they had no skin in the game, but the skin they had in the game was that they needed to get sober and that maybe they got sent there by court or whatever their reason was.
Right.
I gave them their treatments. They got their first 2 treatments from me, absolutely no cost to them because we were doing science behind it. And the problem that I was running into is that these people are leaving rehab without doing their steps because they don't need this. I feel great. I'm doing fantastic.
I can
No,
see it. I can see it. That the body is feeling okay for the moment, but the pain that brought you in has
is
still
not
not been dealt with
healed.
and is going to be triggered.
And so then 3 months later, they get thrown back into the same rehab and they go, can you call Meridee, please? And my answer is no, absolutely not. I will not treat you. You want this. You're now going to pay for it because you need some skin in the game and you need to follow the program all the way through, not just have the first 2 treatments. Because the
Mm-hmm.
first 2 treatments are just going to get you sober. They're not going to keep you sober.
Mm-hmm.
Because the first
Mm-hmm.
2 treatments, the effects of it, it's anything we do is going to require repeated doing. Okay. So you take a pill, you do that every day. I
Yes.
don't need to see you every day though. Because of the way your body actually works, when it's treated naturally and holistically, it will
Mm-hmm.
do what it needs to. So basically, for 8 weeks, your endorphins are going to continue to climb. But if I treat
Mm-hmm.
you once, a lot of people are like, I feel kind of normal. Like I'm really uncomfortable. Whereas when I treat them 5 to 7 days later, they're like, okay, now I actually kind of feel good. And
Right.
at a level they've not felt in years for a lot of these people.
Sure.
And then what I do is I let you go because ours is an outpatient program. So I let you go. And now, because your brain chemicals are at a normal level, I encourage you either we do offer coaching, but
Mm-hmm.
either get yourself a counselor, get yourself a coach, get yourself a sponsor, and start working through your trauma. Because if
So
you
no,
don't,
wait, we got to stop here. You're solving the first problem. You're not taking away what they've been using to handle their issues without giving them something else, brought them back up to normal issues. Then the next thing for our very instant gratification society is now you have to go do the deep work, which
yeah,
will also make you uncomfortable
yes,
and will actually do the healing so that you don't keep doing this round
yeah.
robin cycle.
However, now when your brain feels normal, you don't feel depressed, you don't feel stressed, you don't feel anxious. you have so much more power in moving through these things. Now I have the capacity to start facing, because these things have to come slow, because these things are painful. There's a reason that you use drugs or alcohol.
Right.
Now, also, I just have to put a little side note in here. I had a conversation with my doctor when my son was about 16 years old, and he was diagnosed with ADD. ADD, ADHD, they're the same. One means that they also have like hyperactive, so they move a lot and they're very, like my son has ADD. If he took ADHD medication, he got depressed. The way we found out my son had ADD is that he was taking his friend's pills to get high and ended up going to school and doing work. So I went to my doctor and I said, my son is taking someone else's medications, because he came home and actually was very open with me and said, I'm taking someone else's medication, but it actually makes me focus, Mom. I think I have ADHD. And so I was like, okay. So we go to my doctor. My doctor says, Keaton, what drugs have you done? And my son looks at me and is like, none. And I was like, if there's one person you don't lie to, it's your doctor. I was like, if you want me to leave the room, I will leave the room. But I already know, like, we've had these conversations about what drugs you've done. So be honest with the doctor. And so he's like, okay, well, I've done cocaine, I've done marijuana, I've done meth, I've done this, I've done that. And my doctor's like, walks over and put his hand on his shoulder and says, I just want you to know it's not your fault. And my son looked at him, like, frowned and was like, what are you talking about? And he said, the majority of the drug addicts on the street are undiagnosed ADD, ADHD. And I said, I need to understand this. So help me understand this. And he said, what happens is, he asked me if I'd ever done cocaine. My answer is no. I'm 44 years old and I have never done cocaine.
Right.
But he said, okay, here's the thing. When someone with normal endorphin levels like you or I does cocaine, we feel this like intense tightness in our nervous system. And we get this like, and we have a million thoughts going through our brains and all these things. And it's just chaos. He said, now someone who has ADD feels like that every single day, all of the days of their life. So if you or I have 50 to 60,000 thoughts going through our brain, someone with ADHD has 120,000 thoughts and none of them finish. They cannot grasp them. Wow. He said they also have that intense tightness in their nervous system every single day, all day long. They don't sleep well. They never accomplish anything because they got to move on to the next thing. They're always feeling jittery. You'll notice they fidget a lot, things like that. He said you would think with someone with severe ADD or ADHD, you would think they were on cocaine all the time because of the way they are. He said because their system makes them feel and act like they're on cocaine all the time. When they take cocaine or any other drug, what happens with people with ADD or ADHD is their brain doesn't release dopamine at normal levels at all. When they do cocaine or any other drug, it causes a release of endorphins. And now someone who typically would be wired and whatever acts like you or I would on a regular basis. So my son nodded and I was like, why are you nodding? He said, when I did cocaine, I felt amazing. And I was like, that's what everybody says. And my doctor said, but he didn't feel amazing the way that other people do in that sense. Because if you ask them, that tension is there. And he's like, Mom, that's what I mean. I felt amazing. It didn't feel like that center. He always used to explain it as like this center that was so tight that ran down the middle of his body that just felt like it was going to explode. He said that tightness was gone when I did cocaine. And I was like, oh my goodness. And this is like, I'm halfway into, I'm going to say 7 years ago. So I was like 5-6 years into me being in the addiction field when I found this out.
Right.
So a lot of the people on the streets also just have this imbalance that they're completely unaware of. And then they use because it makes them feel normal, but they don't even realize that they feel normal because to them, this is high.
It's high to them. It would be on a normal plane for folks who don't have the ADHD, ADD.
Yes.
issues. Have you treated your son with the laser quit?
I have.
And
we have incredible results with him. So he also has low testosterone. So we treat him with our hormone treatment as well. And he loves it. Like he's 23. He's turning 23. He absolutely loves having his hormone treatments because he said afterwards he feels so energized. He feels stronger at the gym. He feels motivated. He feels like he can do, like he said, I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to do more than one thing at a time because he watches me, like I make dinner and I'm able to do the dishes and he's now moving out on his own. And he's like, I don't know that I can do the dishes at the same time as cooking. Like cooking has got to be the focus because I'll probably walk away and let it burn if, you know what I mean? So
sure.
He has an ADHD treatment, which is essentially our stress treatment, our anti-anxiety, antidepressant treatment. He has one of those treatments and it regulates the dopamine in his brain. Now, they do need to come back a little more often, I find, if they have ADD, ADHD. They have to come back about every 4 to 6 weeks instead of every 6 to 8 because their brain is fighting what we're trying to get them to do, right? It's not developed properly for them to release proper amounts of dopamine. So we go in and do it, and then their body eventually fights it, and then they need to come back. So we see them, but it is doing its job. And my son feels far more focused, motivated, driven. He said it feels like there's less thoughts going through his head. So there's a lot of these positive side effects that are happening to him because of this. Now, my son doesn't have an addiction, but the side effects of, he said, I understand why people would have one because of that. Now, he took ADD meds and he would take them for about 4 weeks. And then he said that it would make that feeling, that tightness that ran down the center of his body so intense. It felt like they made him feel better throughout the day, but that intense, overwhelming sensation, he'd be like, I have to stop my meds for a little bit. And because he's ADD, he doesn't start again.
Right. Well, and I have a good friend who's young lady at about fourth or fifth grade. If she takes her ADD medication, she's fine during the day, and then she's a terror at night. So I've seen this with parents before of, okay, what do I want? Do I want the school to have to deal with it or for me to deal with it? And what I'm hearing is you've got a solution to both of those.
I do. Also, what I've found is that we need to teach our kids how to cope with it because it's a very real part of their life. So this is also like any addiction. So like a lot of the medications give kids tics, and then they give a kid more medication that removes the tics. Well, you're covering up a side effect of a medication with another medication. Like their body can stop doing this on its own if it's given direction on how to do it. Acupuncture is this amazing thing. The problem is, what kid do you know that's going to voluntarily go get needles in its head, face, ears, hands, body? Probably not many.
So here's the interesting thing. I have just been being dry needled for my hip. And prior to that, I really don't believe in invasive medicine for animals because they don't understand and you can't explain, hey, we're trying to do this for you, honey, to make you feel better. So the dog had dry needling and from a very experienced acupuncturist, and then she was using the little machine that you attach to make it really work. And occasionally he would turn around to bite her because she'd got it just a little too high. Having experienced it myself, I'm like, I get it. Why? And he can't vocalize it. So I can see why when you're talking to a child or you're talking to somebody like that, plus it's not part of our culture. But what would be better? Letting the body work it out through some stimulation that is not, I mean, a needle is invasive in that sense, but non-invasive in the sense that it's not changing the brain chemistry by giving it a drug.
Yes. I am not one to say that the pharmaceutical company isn't needed. I'm not one to say that at all. I do think that we need them. But we need doctors with more time because we need to dig into what the root cause is instead of putting a mask on what's happening. So this is the problem that we're running into. And this is why, I mean, let's be honest. Acupuncture has been around for thousands of years. Medications have been around for hundreds, maybe.
Yeah.
So we really need to look at what we're doing. I understand what we're doing with medications. I get that it's helpful, and it really is. But it's not a permanent solution unless you take it every single day for the rest of your life. And that's not a permanent solution.
Well, let's back up to what exactly so there's no needles involved. It's a cold laser. I've been in the red laser booths before. What exactly does this look like? And
Ooh. Okay, so I actually have one. I actually remembered it this time. I usually forget. So it looks like a large pen, essentially. It is, say, 12 to 14 inches long. It is a very pointed end. And when I say pointed, it's directed. So it narrows in to be able to use the actual acupuncture points that we're trying to use. But it essentially is just this big fat pen that we use. Okay. And when the light is on, which I'm not going to do, but when the light is on, there's a red light that you can see when you put it on your hand. I can actually You can
Yeah.
see the light on my hand.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You don't feel anything at all
Mm-hmm.
for the most part. So this little laser that has a battery charger, because mine is not the plug-in one, I've gone portable. This laser is a game changer. And we use it in different spots for different time, for different sequencing. And I spent the first 5 years of Laser Quit experimenting on people to really find the solution that worked the best. Because I'm not going to lie, I'm an overachiever. Yeah, I can do 85% without putting any effort in. But I
Right.
like 95 or higher because I'm
Right.
capable of 95 or higher. So I started really working on people and I was like, I'm going to do an experiment. If this doesn't work, you come back, we'll have a conversation. But I found that with consistency in a certain direction, I was able to find consistency in my success. And so, of course, I've trademarked my portion of what I do, but it really is this amazing. And when I say it, and we have licensing partners. So what we do is say there's another business, they offer, say, holistic services of all sorts. They can now offer laser quit services within their business as a licensing partner. And we just hired or just partnered with 2 new companies. And the one lady did an interview with me, and it is on my YouTube channel. She actually partnered with me, and we were having an interview, and she said, I actually feel like you maybe play this down a little too much. And I was like, what? She's like, I don't think you like really share how amazing this is because it really is life changing. And I was like, I mean, you're not wrong because I do play it down a little bit. Because if I tell you I have a miracle cure for you that will take away your addiction, and then you struggle through it, you're gonna be like, it didn't work for me.
Well,
And I found,
you've kind of set that person up to struggle through it. Because
mm-hmm,
then they say, oh, well, I'm the one, terminal uniqueness. I'm the one in a million that it's not going to work for.
mm,
Whereas if you let them wander through and you say, okay, this may work this way, it may work that way. Let's figure out what works for
yes,
you. That switches everything.
it
So,
does.
so just out of curiosity, Meredith, why not just buy one of these and use them at home?
I mean, you do you. The cost of them is not cheap. So it
Right?
will cost you quite a bit to be able to buy a
Well,
laser.
what I'm trying to extract is what do you bring to this that, technically I could do therapy at home, right? What
Yep.
do you bring to this that changes it by you or another practitioner doing it?
So 5 years of experimenting to find what really works is one. Our coaching and our support is two. And the way that I train my team is the third thing. Because I have done this and I have done it every day for 13 years where I'm helping these people and the outcome is my main concern. I'm doing this for the science behind it. This company, as much as I would love to tell you that it gives me this incredibly wonderful, rich life, it's not the case. This company has done a lot of costing me personally in income. I have to
Right.
put my money into this company. And what I want to do is make it so that this is the new way we deal with addiction moving forward. And what makes me different than everyone else is the fact that if you were to look up cold laser therapy for quitting smoking, the majority of them will be like, "Oh my goodness, we'll give you unlimited treatments for 8 weeks." Awesome. Except they want you back in their door in 6 to 9 months when you start smoking again. Because one treatment, if your endorphins climb for 8 weeks, they're going to then crash for 8 weeks. And by week 16, you're going to feel exactly the same as you did before you saw us.
Ouch. That's a little
Mhm.
planned obsolescence right there.
Isn't it?
That's what I'm looking for is
My
you know,
business is designed to close. If I'm honest with you, my business is designed to close. When I cure addiction, my business will shut down. That being said, there are so many people out there addicted that it's going to be a while before that happens. But if I
absolutely.
can remove addiction from the world and shut my business down, I am all in.
Well, where I'm going with this is if I'm a wife, a mom, or something, somebody who says, "Hey, would you like to try this? I'm willing to foot the bill or do whatever." What are they looking for? Because not everybody's going to run up to British Columbia, but what are
Mhm.
they looking for in a person that does this? Like you said, if it spikes for 8 weeks, it's going to drop for 8 weeks, and
You need
then
to
we're going to
contacting
wander
them
around
and
and go, "It
taking
didn't work."
ask them questions. Because what I've noticed about a lot of the people in my industry is that if you say, "Well, what exactly are you doing?" They have absolutely no idea.
Mm.
They can't explain to you the science behind what we do because they're just going with the training that they received when they did whatever it is they did. I teach my manuals are hundreds of pages long. And I don't teach you here and then leave you. I teach you and then I walk you through for the next like year. You're going to be in touch with me back and forth constantly so that we can make sure that you have the right answers the entire time. This isn't a here's my training. Okay, thanks. That was awesome. I'm a pro now. This is something that's going to take you a long time to really become the treatment you might be good at. But it's not just a treatment. It's the things that come along with the treatment. It's the conversations you have with your people. And one of the things that I get all the time is, Meridee, you're a healer. Your laser is just your tool. Well, I'm teaching other people how to be healers. Because for me, this is a long-term solution.
So let me back this up for folks that are listening. This is something to help you be able to manage the next step in healing, which you said earlier, once you get them up to a normal level, then it's time to go see the therapist. Then it's time to deal with the trauma. Then it's time to set the boundaries, deal with the family issues, whatever is going on.
Yes.
Now
that is also offered within some of the programs that we have. We have various packages. And we do offer coaching packages that do include this. And my coaches are very well trained as well. They're all addictions coaches. Many of them have been addicted. They've been where you are, and you are the best person to teach who you used to be.
Right.
So, I make sure that my coaches that you're working with, whether it's me right now, there's a lot of people working with me, but if you're working with me or one of my coaches, they have been trained by me. They are here to help you get through your trauma, heal through your trauma. And because my life has not been easy by any means. I've had my fair share of trauma. And I have healed a lot of that trauma. I'm 44 years old. I've got a lot of healing to do. It's not like you're just going to heal the trauma and move on. It's that for the rest of your life, you're going to be working on healing your trauma.
Now, do you have partners in the States?
We don't yet, but we're looking for some. So you guys, please reach out if this is something that you would be interested in doing.
Awesome. And what makes a good partner for you? Are they already functional medicine? Are they already holistic healers? What makes a good partner for you?
Ultimately, yes. Those are my favorite. Those are the ones I want to work with because they already have their toes in the water that I'm working in. So I would ultimately like someone who is in holistic medicine, who has a wellness center, a naturopath, somebody who even works in the med spa industry, because if they're a medical esthetician, they have the licensing to be able to, like in most states down there, it requires a medical esthetician to operate the lasers that we operate. So there are certain things that, like licensing requirements for your state that is required, those types of things. But also when it comes to me, I need you to be empathetic. If you have been an addict, we should probably have a conversation. If you've been an addict and you've been clean for a long time, that's what we need to have a conversation about, because I know that most addicts want to help other addicts.
Absolutely.
So if we can help each other, and not just that, but that's really the big thing is I believe that the purpose of life is a purpose. So my purpose here is to have a purpose, and my purpose is to help other people.
Yes.
So if I can help you help other people, I only have two hands. So I can only reach so many people. But if I can reach you and you can reach other people, then I have fulfilled my purpose.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. Sober on purpose, right?
Yes.
Where can we find more information? You mentioned a YouTube channel. Just spill. Let us know where we can
Okay, so
find you.
YouTube, you can find Laser Quit Queen. That is me. If you're interested in our website, it is laserquittherapy.ca. If you are looking for us on social media, look up laserquit.therapy. Anything laser quit is going to be me. Anything that's laser, anything else is not going to be me. So make sure that you're looking for the laser quit. And if you're even looking up laserquit.net, it'll redirect you right to our laserquittherapy.ca. So there are various options. You can email us right from the website and just say, I'm interested in getting an appointment to discuss partnering with you, or I'd like to discuss, because we also have people who fly in to see us for treatments. We are currently only in British Columbia and Alberta, but we are also working on the expansion. I have been doing this for 13 years, but only the last couple of years have I really realized that I need to do more. and that I need to expand. And so it takes a lot to do the business side of prepping for all of that. I am now ready to roll. And that is how come I've started doing a lot more podcast appearances and stuff like that, is because now I'm ready for you to come in and say, I want a partner. We'll get this moving. And the cool part about it all is that there is minimal cost for you to get started. And I just take royalties from you.
Nice. So we've talked about that. Not only is this an opportunity for people who are in business in the healthcare business already, a holistic style medicine, but also there's an opportunity for folks who are learning about this for the first time to talk with their loved ones and say, there are some options outside of what we've been doing, because in the States, treatment is 20, 30, 40,
Yes.
50,000. If you've already spent that kind of money, and you've been through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rehabs, a flight up to British Columbia can't be that much more expensive.
Nope. It's quite reasonable.
Right. Absolutely. Well, Meridee, thank you so much for being here. Lots of information, lots of great stuff. Be sure and check out her YouTube channel, Laser Quit. You're going to get a lot of great information over there. We'll post all your links down below and get this out there, because as we said earlier, not one size fits all. This may or may not be for you, but it certainly is an opportunity to try something different if you have tried everything else. Because what we know is addiction keeps cycling, and that defeat just gets lower and lower, and it degenerates. And those around you that love you are really there to support you and connect with you, but they may not know how.
Yes.
So this is an opportunity to do something different, do something out of the box. But thank you, Meridee. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Tanya. Bye, guys.
You, beloved listener, are creative, resourceful, and whole. Do you want to add more purpose to your sober journey? Do you want to make room for the new and make your dreams a reality? Apply today for a dream session. Go to tanyajoya.com. That's TANYAGIOIA.com and apply today. Let's get you dreaming about your new purpose.